Hey, I get it when you're trying to level up your family videos or start a little home studio. The last thing you want is to drop cash on a camcorder that ends up sitting on a shelf because it just doesn't fit the way you work. I've been in the same spot, scrolling through endless specs, watching a ton of top 10 videos, and wondering if the extra zoom and 4K promise will actually matter when you're filming a birthday party in a living room or streaming a tutorial from your kitchen. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Canon VIXIA HF-G70 sits in that sweet spot where hobbyist meets semi-professional. It's not a cinema-grade rig you'd rig up with a gimbal and a full lighting kit, but it's also not a toy camcorder that clips to a selfie stick and spits out grainy 1080p. The biggest hesitation people have is whether the 20 optical zoom and built-in image stabilization are enough to replace a DSLR for run-and-gun shooting, or if the extra UVC live streaming feature is just a gimmick. I dug into the manual, read through the official Canon forums, and watched a handful of real-world test videos to see where the value actually lives. First off, the 4K sensor and Digic DV6 processor do give you crisp, sharp footage that holds up when you pull it onto a larger screen. In practice, that means your kids' soccer games look far less like a grainy security cam and more like a broadcast you could actually share on YouTube without the footage looking soft. The camera's on-screen timestamp is a small but surprisingly handy feature if you're documenting events for legal reasons, or you need to keep a precise log for a construction site walkthrough. The embedded date, time, and timecode stay locked into every frame, so you never have to add that later in post. What I found most practical is the hybrid autofocus system paired with adjustable focusing speeds. When you're moving around a house with a toddler in tow, you can dial the focusing speed down so the camera doesn't hunt every time a small object slides across the frame. Conversely, if you're shooting a fast-moving subject like a dog chasing a ball, you can crank the speed back up, and the AF keeps up without you having to constantly refocus manually. It's a subtle thing, but over an hour of footage it saves a lot of frustration. Now, let's talk about that 20 optical zoom. For most indoor events, you'll find yourself using anywhere from 2 to 6. That's enough to get a clean close-up of a birthday cake without physically moving the camera. The extra zoom range shines when you step outside. I took it to a local park and was able to capture a bird perched on a branch about 30 meters away and still retain detail in 4K. The built-in image stabilization does a decent job of smoothing out handheld shake, but it's not a replacement for a proper tripod if you're after rock-solid static shots. On a shaky hand, the stabilization can sometimes introduce a slight wobble when panning quickly, so if you plan to do a lot of fast pans, consider a small gimbal or at least a shoulder rig. One of the standout, but often overlooked, features is the UVC live streaming capability. It essentially turns the camcorder into a plug-and-play webcam. You connect it via USB, select it as a video source on your computer, and you're broadcasting in HD straight from the sensor. No need for a capture card. For teachers, small business owners, or anyone who wants a higher quality live feed for Zoom or Twitch, this can be a game changer. I tested it with a live cooking tutorial, and the image stayed crisp even when I moved around the kitchen. The only catch is that you need a decent computer and a stable USB-C connection. The camcorder itself doesn't handle any encoding, so if your PC is underpowered you'll see lag. Who should buy the VIXIA HF-G70? If you're a parent or grandparent who wants to archive family moments in true 4K without learning a whole new editing workflow, this is a solid pick. It's also a great bridge for content creators who are still figuring out whether they need a full-size mirrorless camera, especially if you need the built-in zoom and timestamp for events. The price point sits well below most 4K camcorders with similar zoom ranges, so you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. Who should skip it? If you're a serious filmmaker who demands raw video output, interchangeable lenses, or high framerate slow motion, this camcorder won't satisfy those needs. The digital zoom caps at 800, but beyond the optical range the image quality drops off noticeably, so relying on that for close-ups will introduce softness. Also, if you need a fully weather-sealed body for rugged outdoor shoots, you'll want to look elsewhere. This model is splash-resistant but not built for heavy rain or dust storms. A practical weakness that pops up in real-world use is the battery life. In 4K mode, a fully charged battery gives you roughly 2